Hello everyone, welcome back to another Prehistoric Kingdom video. In today's video we'll be going over the 11 5-star dinosaurs, plus an extra 2 bonus dinosaurs as well, that we have in this amazing park building game, and rank them on my personal opinion. I'm your host Swerve and I hope you enjoyed the video. A quick disclaimer, all rankings on these animals in this series are merely based on my own personal opinion. I'm not fond of well-known dinosaurs and prefer the obscurity of some dinosaurs. So if you see one on this list that's a fan favourite but lower than you expected, that's probably why. Not only that, but I'll be basing my own personal opinion also on how they look and how I can imagine having them in my park. And also what it will be like seeing them run around in a potential Site B. Each dinosaur does have their own star rating, which actually puts them in their own category of how well they'll do to bring in revenue towards your parks. Not only that, but the dinosaurs that you do see, and also the animals on this list that you do see in today's episode, may not be fully confirmed for the game, and they are also subject to change on either their models, appearance, or something like that. But nonetheless, let's get straight into the rankings. So coming up in last place, we actually have a fan favourite, I know, but we have the woolly mammoth. The reason why the woolly mammoth is at last place in this list doesn't mean I hate it. I absolutely love the woolly mammoth. However, we do already have gameplay access on the closed alpha, or the pre-alpha shall I say, where we're able to play with the woolly mammoth and see all of its animations walking around, and to be honest, it's basically an elephant with tusks, with big tusks, let's just say that. But yeah, since I'm very used to playing with the mammoth already on this current build that I currently have, this is why we're going to put the mammoth at the lower end of the list. You know, similar to the Prenocephalae and also the Almontosaurus, they're quite low down on the retrospective aspect of the other lists that were there, merely because we've already played with them, and it's going to be the same for the woolly mammoth. Nonetheless, it's a really cool animal and I can't wait to play with it in my parks. Now coming in at 10th space, we have a personal dinosaur favourite of mine, and I know it's quite low, but you know, as times go on, I mature and I start to love this dinosaur a lot more than I used to, and this is Parasaurolophus. Parasaurolophus is one of the most gorgeous creatures that I have ever seen in my whole entire life, even with the potential of having Tyrannosaurus as well being very similar to Parasaurolophus. That makes me very excited. I really do love this creature with the horn on its neck, you know, with the species profile. You can see a really cool royal pattern as well, and not only that, it does have sexual dimorphism, so depending on its gender, either male or female, you'll be able to see a difference in its appearance. Basically, the horn will probably be a lot shorter. I think the best way you can see this, if you look down onto the skins on the species profile, you can see the dusky skin has a long horn protruding, the floral has a short horn, and the royal has a long horn as well. I really love the look of the royal pattern as well. That's one of my favourites. But the reason why I do think the middle one, floral, is actually the female Parasaurolophus is mainly because of how short the horn is. I know there are different species. As you can see, you have Walkeri, Utahraptor, something like that, and Gianensis. It could be down to species basis, but I do believe that's what we could see for sexual dimorphism. But the Parasaurolophus is a cool dinosaur, and I do really love the look of it, so just because it's low doesn't mean I hate it, remember that. But that is why it's lower down on the list at 10th spot. Next up we have the Stegosaurus. Now the Stegosaurus I was quite worried about after the shit show, let's say, of the Stegosauruses in Jurassic World Evolution, where as soon as one goes then it all goes to hell, let's say. It's very hard to maintain Stegosauruses, but I assume, you know, looking at this we can see that they can have in social groups of 1 to 7 animals, so it's not the fact that you're gonna have to have 5 of these creatures in one exhibit, and if one leaves it goes to chaotic shit. It's completely fine to see these Stegosaurus walk about. Not only that, but I really do love the size, the sheer size of the plates on its back. This Stegosaurus model really does look incredible, and I love the fact that the tail is actually high up as well. That's one of my favourite types of Stegosauruses, and I do think it would have been a little bit lower on the list if it wasn't for the spikes, the plates shall I say, and also the model, but that is why Stegosaurus is coming at 9th spot. Now coming in at 8th spot, I'm a little bit surprised I put the Triceratops up in 8th spot. But yes, the Triceratops. Now, I don't really have too much fan favourites of the Triceratops. You know, obviously it's a gorgeous looking dinosaur. I'd love to see it in real life. But personally, because it's one of those dinosaurs such as Tyrannosaurus Rex who are constantly pushed down your throat as a child, it wasn't something that I was, you know, excited about. However, I did notice there are actually 4 different skin patterns here that we do get, and two species, my bad, which kind of put it a little bit higher on the list. The fact that I think this is one of the only dinosaurs or animals on this list to have 4 skin patterns. You have the verdant, the crimson, the threadbare, and the blue horn. Not only that, but you can see for the Parasaurolophus and the HORRIDUS, the Parasaurolophus has more straight horns and the HORRIDUS actually has the bent horns, which, it's really cool to show the differences of different types of species there. So I'm glad they did something like that. I'm glad that they showed off the horns were different in many Triceratopses. But yes, merely because it was pushed down our throats as a child, and loads of people know what the Triceratops is, this is why it's going to go a little bit lower on the list than many people would expect. But nonetheless, I'm really excited to see Triceratops. What's a dinosaur game without Triceratops, eh? Next up, we have the big boy, to say the least. We have the Paraceratherium. This would have been higher on my list. If people didn't say it's more like a rhino than a horse. I feel like it's still more like a horse, that's why it's a little bit higher than it is. I would have probably put it a little bit lower, but because people keep saying it's a rhino, it's sadly going to be a little bit lower. I don't know why people are saying it's more like a rhino. I guess through genetic terms, it makes sense, but just looking at it, it looks more like a horse. If people said it looked more like a horse and agreed with me in that essence, it would have probably been a little bit higher, but I had to look into it, and unfortunately, from the understanding of Paraceratherium, I am going to put it a little bit lower, simply because I know it's more related to a rhino now, which is a little bit more upsetting, but nonetheless, I'm still very excited to it. And if you can probably tell by my editing, if we're editing it correctly, you can see the sheer size of this mammal compared to the Smilodon. It is huge, to say the least. It is probably one of the biggest animals in this game. I think the biggest animal in this game. And I think it will probably outsize most of the dinosaurs as well, besides the sauropods obviously, but this Paraceratherium is not to be messed with. If it wasn't for the sheer size and it was actually a lot smaller, it would definitely be a lot lower on the list, but because of the sheer size of this creature, it is monstrous, and I'm very excited to have it in my parks and how to contain it, how to control it if it does want to go rampant and run outside. It's going to be exciting to see, and it's going to be exciting to control. So I can't wait to see what Paraceratherium has for us in Prehistoric Kingdom. Next up, we have one of our final sauropods ever. This is Brachiosaurus. We're used to seeing Brachiosaurus plenty of times, so that's why it's a little bit lower again on the list. But at the end of the day, we have 11 creatures to choose from, so that's why it's going to go a little bit lower. But nonetheless, this doesn't mean I hate the Brachiosaurus. I love the Brachiosaurus. Definitely one of my favorites of sauropods ever discovered, and ever since seeing it for the first dinosaur ever on screen in Jurassic Park, it has been one of my personal favorites. I know I like obscurity of dinosaurs, but seeing the Brachiosaurus always puts a smile on my face, and I think we all know the sound the Brachiosaurus makes from Jurassic Park. Having that ambience spread across the park really brings your park to life, whether it's Jurassic World Evolution, Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, and hopefully Prehistoric Kingdom with this gorgeous Brachiosaurus ambience. This long-necked sauropod from America is definitely one to watch. Loads of people love it, loads of people know about it, and obviously because of its crest on the top of its head, I believe it's a nose as well, it stands out to the crowd and we all love it. I think the sauropods in this game, the models, Blue and Meridian are kind of going for thicker necks when it comes to the sauropods, so that's what I really love as well. It does look disproportionate just a little bit, but I think that's natural from what we've discovered about sauropods, so not to be worried about that. And maybe just talk about that russet skin as well. That russet skin really does look amazing. Next up, loads of people are going to be very confused about this, but there is a reason behind why the Tyrannosaurus Rex is in 5th spot. I know loads of people are screaming at me saying, why is the T-Rex at 5th? You can't put the T-Rex at 5th. I understand that, but that's a reason because there's actually 2 species of the T-Rex. We have the normal Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then we also have the Tyrannosaurus bata, which will actually come later in this list. So the reason why the T-Rex is actually lower in the list is because it's feathered. I'm not a fan of feathered creatures. I believe they were more fur than feather. So, I don't like the fact of having a feathered T-Rex, and I'm glad that they have added the bata because it's not feathered. But the main reason why the T-Rex officially is going to be a little bit lower on this list is because it is feathered. Not only that, but I'm not a huge fan of the model, but I do kind of like it, and I still think it is the feathers, or the fur, whatever you want to call it. I prefer to call it fur. But I do believe that's the reason why I'm putting the T-Rex a little bit lower and thinking the model looks a bit weird. But we're not going to talk too much about it because it does come back later on the list, so don't you worry. But again, don't stress out, the T-Rex is this low for a reason, don't worry. In 4th spot, we have Utahraptor. I know I just said I don't like feathers, but Utahraptor, that's understandable. A dinosaur of a dromaeosaurid family definitely deserves to have feathers, and I think it just makes it look a lot more awesome. As we know, the Velociraptors are actually, I think, 3-star creatures and a lot smaller. They have Velociraptor mongoliensis rather than Nublarensis that we know from Jurassic Park. And basically from Jurassic Park, if you guys didn't know already, I'm sure many of you do, those Velociraptors were actually based off the model of Utahraptor, or the size of Utahraptor, and the model of Deinonychus. So having a Utahraptor separate to Velociraptor in a game really does stand out, and I'm excited to see what this Utahraptor can do. Standing at a measly, I want to say measly compared to the rest of dinosaurs, but to a human, it's about 6 foot, 6'5" a Utahraptor was on average, which is a huge height, so I can't wait to see it running around, hopefully jumping on guests and killing them. We'll have to wait and see about that one. But I'm very excited to see Utahraptor make its way into Prehistoric Kingdom, and I can't wait to see what it can do. Now, as promised, I know we have 11 animals and dinosaurs on this list, but we have 2 bonus ones, and the first bonus one is Tarbosaurus. Tyrannosaurus rex Batar is actually Tarbosaurus, and again, just because it doesn't have feathers is the whole reason why it is making its way a little bit higher. I'm not going to name it as 3rd spot, I'm going to name it as a bonus spot, but I'm very excited to see the Tyrannosaurus Batar make its way into Prehistoric Kingdom. I can't wait to change up the look of the Rex and the Batar to see the difference. I mean, Dondi's probably looking at this video right now being like, oh, why did he put the Tarbosaurus that high? It's just a T-Rex. But there's a difference, and you can definitely see it in Prehistoric Kingdom between the Batar and the Rex. So I can't wait to put Tarbosaurus, technically speaking, in Prehistoric Kingdom, and I'm very excited. In 3rd spot, we have Diego, or more commonly known as the Smilodon. The Smilodon was the saber-toothed tiger that we all know and love. I'm really a big fan of the saber-toothed tiger, and not only that, we have 2 species, which one of them I believe has longer fangs. I think the Fatalis actually has a lot longer fangs than the Populator, so you know, there's definitely a difference there, and I think the Populator is actually a little bit more chunky, and I think the Fatalis is a little more agile in build. But nonetheless, I'm very excited for the Smilodon just because it is a Smilodon. Who doesn't want a Smilodon in their parks? Only weirdos, to say the least. But yes, Smilodon is coming in at 3rd spot. In 2nd spot, we have again the last sauropod on this list. It's been a great ride for sauropods, and we have the biggest or largest overall sauropod ever coming to Prehistoric Kingdom. This is the Argentinosaurus. We all love the Argentinosaurus. Let's be honest, one of the largest sauropods to ever live, largest things ever to live on Earth actually, and to be able to walk on it. The Argentinosaurus was discovered in, well, wouldn't you know, Argentina, and turns out to be one of the largest sauropods. Did I say that already? I think that is probably the main reason why I'm personally putting it up in 2nd space. Not only that, but you know, I've noticed that Prehistoric Kingdom are coming up with loads of models with spikes coming down its back, and it's nice to see that the Argentinosaurus doesn't quite have that, but it does have some big protruding spikes on its back, which adds a bit of unique design feature in my own opinion. My only concern is that when we do see the Brachiosaurus and the Argentinosaurus together, if I put an image there you'll be able to see it, but they look quite similar, so hopefully we can definitely see a bigger large size increase for the Argentinosaurus, whilst also making it a bit more realistic to make it stand out a lot more from the Brachiosaurus. But other than that, I don't really have any complaints about the Argentinosaurus, and I'm very excited to see it in our parks. Now, if this dinosaur actually had a species profile, it will be number 1, 100%, but the Spinosaurus is confirmed to be the first dinosaur and creature coming post-launch. So after launch, our first creature that we can expect is the Spinosaurus, a gorgeous creature to say the least. I'm not going to talk about it too much because this is the only PK image that we have of Spinosaurus, so that's why it is coming at, well, 2nd, 1st spot. Let's say 1.5 spot. And talking of that 1st spot, we have Allosaurus. I don't really know why Allosaurus is at 1st spot. It's never been a dinosaur that stood out for me. But in Prehistoric Kingdom, the model just stands out. It actually does stand out, and I'm very excited to see the Allosaurus in game. We can see it here next to the Utahraptor, and the size of it isn't too big, it isn't too small. It's about right, to be honest, and the model, I'm in love with it. I really am in love with it, and it definitely has a fear factor if you were to ask me. Personally, this Allosaurus is definitely one of my favourites. I'm not saying it's the favourite, and the list could change if I keep looking at the dinosaurs, but Allosaurus definitely one of my favourites when it comes to Prehistoric Kingdom. But that's all we have time for in today's video. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure to smash that like button. And I want to aim for 21,000 subscribers because we did it, guys. We hit 20,000 subscribers. That's insane. Thank you all so much. But in the meantime, if you wish to help me get to that 30,000 before the end of 2021, please start now and press that subscribe button. There we go. But in the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.